Good evening. Let us begin simply, plainly. We are not beginning a new system tonight. We are not forming a club, nor are we asking anyone to join anything. There are no memberships, no badges, no outer qualifications you could ever pin to yourself to make this real. The only bond that will matter in this hour is a spiritual bond, a willingness in you to turn inward for a few minutes and meet what has always been present. For some of you, this will sound like a clever focus hack, one more tool to tame the buzzing mind and the buzzing phone. For others, it will come as relief from strain and anxiety, from all those days you tried so hard to concentrate and felt the effort twist into fatigue. And for still others, and I say this with a tenderness that I hope you can feel, for still others, this will be the quiet beginning of a conscious inner companionship with God. Not a theory of God, not a promise postponed to a hereafter, but a living presence you touch where you sit. Now I know the world in which we are holding this talk. I read the same headlines. I pass the same billboards. Your phone vibrates. Your meetings stack. Your calendar tiles multiply in little colors. The family needs a ride, a meal, a listening ear. The mind hums with inner pressure, plans, second guesses. I am not here to condemn any of that. The world is the world. I am here to say that presence is not attained by escaping it. Presence is remembered in the very midst of it. In an airport gate, at the kitchen sink, between emails, in the parking lot before the hard conversation, on the sidewalk when a siren goes by, anywhere. Therefore, the stake we drive in the ground at the outset is this. The fastest, surest return to focus is not more effort. It is not gritting the teeth, narrowing the eyes, bargaining with the minutes. The quickest way is a turn, a conscious return to what you are before the mind runs. An inward recognition, I am. Before you add to it, before you explain it, before you complete that sentence with fear or history or worry, just I am. We are not going to add more burden to your day. We are going to subtract the needless additions the mind has made and bring you to the point of union where clarity, peace, and right action are native. And so, during this hour and those that follow, I will ask only this. Be willing to test this in the middle of your life. Not after the dishes, not after the inbox is empty, because it never is. Right where you are, as you are, presence can be remembered. And when it is remembered, focus comes home like a bird to its own branch. Now, let us be very honest with ourselves. You have tried to concentrate. You have sat at the desk, jaw set, shoulders lifted an extra inch, as if the body's tension could herd the mind into obedience. You have read the same paragraph 3 times and discovered that only the eyes moved across the page, while the mind wandered down the hallway to tomorrow's meeting, last week's remark, the bill that needs to be paid. You have opened the phone for one thing, a quick check, a simple lookup, and 20 minutes later you are staring at a thread of things you did not need to know and cannot now unsee. Your body is present, your chair holds you, but your attention has slipped its moorings and scattered like birds startled from a tree. The paradox is this. The more you try to grip the mind, the more the mind resists the grip. Effort, when it is merely effort, becomes friction. And friction generates heat. And heat becomes irritation, which you call stress. You attempt to fence the mind in. It looks for a hole in the fence. You command it to be still. It rebels with a sudden memory, a sudden urge, a sudden dread. And if you answer that rebellion with more force, the strain deepens. Have you not noticed that by noon on a day of trying to focus, you feel not only unfocused but weary, and then guilty for the weariness, which is another weight on the spirit? Now, I am not here to condemn the little helps of the hour. Timers have their place. A quiet room helps. There are apps that will tuck the toys away for a while. There are rituals, planners, colored flags, notebooks with grids and promises. They are not evil. They are not useless. They rearrange the furniture of the mind. They do not create the tenant. They adjust the lighting on the stage. They cannot call the actor forth. They can order the altar. They cannot supply the fire. Presence, the animating life, does not come from a setting. It comes from contact. Therefore, understand the strange futility of trying to concentrate without inner anchoring. It is like trying to stand upright by pulling on your own shoelaces. It is like demanding fruit from a branch you have severed. Technique without presence is performance without breath. You can sustain it for a few bars, and then you pant. And here is the sober, plain warning, and I must give it to you because I love you. Freedom of attention is hard to win, and it is much harder to retain in a world that has trained you to live in fragments. Every headline bids for you. Every ping has a small hook. The economy of our age is built on leasing your gaze in tiny increments until you forget it was ever yours to offer. If you do not consciously protect your union, the fragments will claim you. If you try to fight them with will alone, you will be twice as tired and no nearer home. So we do not add more strain to strain. We do not whip the mind and then call that virtue. We turn, quietly, inwardly, to the one thing the world cannot invade. We will come to that turn together. But for this moment, let the simple truth settle. No technique can substitute for presence. Without that inner anchoring, concentration becomes effort, and effort becomes friction, and friction becomes fatigue. With it, the mind can serve instead of rule, and that is the beginning of freedom. Now, let us go to the one place the world cannot enter. Not your schedule, because the world is already there with its tiles and reminders. Not your feelings, because those rise and fall with weather and headlines. Not your memories, because they are stitched of yesterday's cloth and fray at the edges. Deeper than that. Quieter than that. Before you add a single word to yourself, there is a fact, a naked sense of being. The simple awareness that says, I, without any adjective, without any label, without any history attached. That I is not your to-do list. It is not your fear. It is not your triumph or your regret. It is the light by which all of those pass before you. I am not offering you a theory. God keep us from more theories. I am telling you what was discovered for me, quite by surprise at first, and then again and again in meditation and out of meditation, washing dishes or standing at a street corner. When the inner eye is touched, the mind settles of itself, not by force, not by an order barked at it, by contact. You can witness this where you sit. You need no incense. You need no posture. You need only the honest willingness to turn for a moment to that word which is already on your tongue 100 times a day. But tonight, receive it before thought has dressed it. Just I. Do it silently, within yourself. Let the mouth be still. Let the body be however it is. Whisper without sound. I. And do not hurry to finish the sentence. Do not add, I am tired. I am late. I am not enough. I am behind. Stop the pen halfway across the page. Only I. In that instant, you are nearer to the center of your life than you could ever be by reciting the story of your life. Nearer than by affirmations. Nearer than by arguments with yourself. Nearer than by brilliant plans or gloomy predictions. For there, in that uncluttered I, is the point of union. Be still and know, says the scripture. Hear it tonight not as a command to strain at stillness, but as a description of a law. In stillness, you discover what already is. You do not create presence. You remove your hand from your own throat and feel that presence has been breathing you all along. Be still, not to earn God, not to make something happen, but to know that I am is already the life of you, the mind of you, the clarity you are seeking. And so, as you touch I, watch what happens around the edges. Thoughts continue like birds crossing a sky, but you are feeling the sky of yourself, not the birds. Notifications might ping, a car may pass, a memory may raise its hand. But in the same way an actor returns to the center mark and the lights find him, this simple I gathers the scattered pieces and holds them without fists. In that I, there is no conflict to win, no timeline to defend. There is only union, quiet, available, practical. Keep it simple. Keep it before words. Keep it as you would hold a cup under a fountain. Be still and know. I am. Now, if you can just visualize for a moment, I'm going to ask you to do that. You will see the inevitability of this. Imagine a branch lying on the ground beside the vine. The sun is generous. It shines alike on the vine and on the severed branch. The air is generous. It moves over both. You can bring the finest gardener. You can polish that branch, spray it, turn it just so into the best angle of light. You can even tape leaves onto it to make it look alive. But the life is not in the sunlight. The life is in the union. The root system, hidden and faithful, is drinking from rains you did not command, drawing minerals from depths you did not know, and the vine is carrying that livingness as sap into every twig that abides in it. Sever the branch, and no matter how much light it receives, it withers, because supply is interrupted. Now take that picture and bring it right into a smartphone age. You have light. Oh, do you have light? Screens lit at dawn, news at your fingertips, courses, apps, hacks, calendars that can color code your whole life. You have opportunities arriving faster than you can say yes or no. You have tools that promise to multiply your time. And yet, some days you are dry and anxious and scattered. Some days your focus fractures like a piece of glass. You are not lazy. You are not wicked. You are a branch trying to make fruit by arranging more light on yourself while the union is neglected. Coffee is not sap. Playlists are not sap. A new notebook is not sap. They are fine in their place, but they cannot carry life into you. The life of clarity, the life of peace, the life of right action moves through the point of union. When you say within yourself, quietly, before words, I am, you are not reciting a trick. You are placing yourself at the living joint where supply enters. That I is your contact with the vine. Through that I flows wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, peace, order, guidance, right timing, right word, right silence. Qualities not manufactured by your will, but expressed through your willingness. I am the vine, ye are the branches. Hear it as a description of how supply reaches you. Not as theology, God save us from more theologies, but as a law as sure as gravity. Abide in that I, and focus returns the way sap returns in spring, not by command, but by nature. Therefore, when the mind scatters, do not whip it, reconnect it. Return to I, even for a breath, and notice how the task in front of you clarifies its next honest step. You will find emails sorting themselves into right order, the phone losing its power to summon you like a master, the conversation softening as words are given you or withheld from you in wisdom. The outer sun can shine or be clouded, no matter. Your supply is inner. Distraction, very often, is not merely a bad habit. It is the symptom of living as a severed branch, trying to draw life from externals, attempting to finish I am with anxious identities in hopes of feeling real. And so let us make this simple and very practical. Stop finishing the sentence. Let I be I. Abide there again and again through the day, not as penance, not as performance, but as union. In that abiding, you will discover fruit appearing where you had been forcing it, decisions maturing where you had been rushing them, strength arriving where you had been bracing yourself. Without that union, you can do nothing that endures. With it, focus, peace, and right action are the natural harvest. Now, let us not speak about it another minute without tasting it. Just for a moment, where you are, as you are, we are going to demonstrate this. You do not need to close your eyes, though you may if it helps. Sit as you are. Let the hands be easy. Let the breath be however it is. Don't try to stop thought. Don't fight it. Don't argue with it. Merely turn within. Silently, within yourself, think that one word that belongs to you before any other word does. I. Not out loud, inside, just I. And do not hurry. Do not add an explanation to it. Don't let it become, I am late, I am behind, I am not ready. Stop it right at I. Feel the nakedness of that. Now, let it widen, without strain, without effort, into I am. Not I am something, just I am. Let it rest there. Let the sentence be complete as it is. I am. If thought moves, let it move like people passing on a sidewalk while you are seated on a bench. You are not failing by noticing movement. You are noticing. That is awareness doing what awareness does, seeing. Each time you find that you have wandered off into finishing the sentence, smile without sound and come back to I. And then open it again to I am. Not a mantra to pound into place, a door to stand in. No criticism, no scorekeeping, no how am I doing? Only I. Only I am. Now watch, not with suspicion, but with a gentle curiosity, for the small signs that belong to presence. Perhaps there is a softening in the chest, as if a hand had eased its grip. Perhaps the forehead, which did not know it was clenched, releases. Perhaps the breath, all on its own, lengthens a little. Perhaps a quiet appears in the space behind the eyes, and the room feels a shade wider. Perhaps time, just a fraction, loosens its chase. These are not fireworks. They are the hush that tells you you have touched the living joint. You are not making anything happen. You are letting what is already the life of you be felt. Hold there a few more beats. I am. Let it be so simple it offends the busy mind. If a notification sounds, let it sound and remain. If a to-do taps you on the shoulder, let it wait in the hall. Here, for this half-minute, you are at the center, and from the center all else can be placed. And now, come back with me without leaving that center. This is demonstration, not philosophy. You have not conquered distraction. You have returned to I am, and the mind, because it was made to serve, has already begun to reorganize itself around presence. In 30 seconds, you have remembered your union, and in that remembrance, the next honest step becomes clear, and the unnecessary begins to fall away of its own weight. Keep this near. You can touch it any time. I am. Now we bring this into the motion of an ordinary day. Not to a cushion only, not to a retreat center, but to your inbox, your calendar, your hallway. The practice is not a separate life. It is the life of you returning to itself in the middle of tasks, pings, and people. Anywhere means anywhere. At work, you receive an email that stirs you. Unfair tone, half-truth, a demand that was not discussed. The body wants to answer before wisdom has entered the room. In that very instant, do not type. Do not rehearse. One breath, silently within yourself. I. Let it open. I am. Feel, even for half a second, the center lift. Now, ask nothing. Push nothing. Wait for one honest sentence that arises from presence rather than reaction. Sometimes the next right act will be to clarify gently. Sometimes it will be to pick up the phone rather than pile paragraphs. Sometimes it will be to let it sit until the heat has left the hands. You will know because the words come without the tremor, without the tightness. The tone is firm, but without the secret wish to punish. In a meeting, the same law. Before you speak, I am. Then speak. Before you answer a challenge, I am. Then answer. The mind serves better when it is not in command. With the phone, let us be very simple. The moment your hand reaches, treat the reach itself as a bell of remembrance. Let the screen be your cue, not your captor. As the thumb moves, pause. No one will see this but you. Silently, I am. In that beat, you are no longer hunted by the device. You are the giver of attention, not the commodity for sale. Now decide, consciously, is there a purpose here? Is there a call to make, a message to send, a note to check? Or is this the severed branch looking for sap from blue light? Proceed if it is purpose, close it if it is hunger. Do it without drama. The phone returns to its place as a tool. You return to your place as a branch in the vine. In conflict, when adrenaline rises and the clever retort lines up at the door, do not try to win your way to peace. Do not trust the first bright sentence that tastes like victory. Return inward. Even as the other person speaks, you can go home. I am. There, stillness. There, protection. Presence is not passive. It is a shield that keeps you from speaking against your own good. From that shield, the next word will be given you or withheld from you. It may be a question that reveals the misunderstanding. It may be a simple, I hear you. It may be silence that cools the room. You will recognize it because it does not add heat. It does not spend you. For some, this will improve performance. emails clearer, meetings shorter, projects moving without the grind. For others, it will reduce anxiety. The compulsive checking softens, the body rests, sleep returns. For still others, and this is the deepest of the three, it will reveal a life lived in companionship with the infinite. Ordinary acts shining with an unborrowed peace. If you forget, and you will, begin again at the first noticing. Mid-email, in the middle of a scroll, with a sentence half out of your mouth, you can stop the sentence inside and return it to "I am" before you finish it in fear. This is not a rule to keep. It is a door to stand in. One breath. I am. Then act, then speak, then, sometimes, do not. That is how the day becomes a field of small returns. That is how focus ceases to be an effort and becomes the fruit of union. Anywhere means anywhere. Desk, screen, or doorway of contention. The practice is one, the source is one, and it is with you where you are. Now we must speak plainly about the world's hypnosis, and how easily, how quietly, you can be lulled back into it without noticing. You make the turn. You touch I. You feel the hush, the little widening in the chest, the ease that says, yes, this is home. You sleep better that night. And the next morning the phone is bright, the calendar is loud, someone needs you early, and before breakfast, the old sentence has been finished for you. I am late. I am behind. I am needed everywhere. You did not choose it. You drifted. Not an enemy kicking down the door, only a habit of identification walking in with your slippers on. That is how the loss of presence comes. Not as a dramatic fall, but as a slow finishing of the holy word with fear. Freedom is hard to win. It is much harder to retain. And the tempter of this age is very polite. It comes dressed as practicality. I don't have time. This isn't practical. I'll do it later. Later becomes never. Practical becomes panic. Lack of time becomes lack of center. And then, because you feel the ache of separation, you add more effort to compensate. More lists, more screens, more frantic vows. And the hypnosis deepens. A house divided against itself must fall. A mind divided against its source must scatter. Do you see? If you do not guard the sentence at its beginning, you will live inside whatever you attach to it at its end. Now let us expose the counterfeit I am. The mind, trained by years of headlines and comparisons and private scoldings, loves to rush in as editor and finish the phrase. I am inadequate. I am angry. I am overwhelmed. I am not as far along as she is. You speak it within, and then you honor it as if it were a fact of nature. You wear it like a name tag and introduce yourself to the day with it. And the day, hearing your introduction, treats you accordingly. This is not superstition. It is simple law. Identity organizes experience. When you finish I am with fear, fear gains the right to furnish the rooms. Therefore, here is your safeguard, as simple as a handrail in a narrow stairway. Whenever you hear a label attaching itself after I am, whenever, without exception, stop the sentence. Right there. Do not argue with the label. Do not wrestle it to the ground. Do not paint it gold with affirmations. Just withdraw the consent you gave it by returning to the unfinished holy fact. Silently, within yourself. I. Let it open again. I am. Stay there long enough for the heat in the word behind to cool, long enough to feel whether that label dissolves entirely or reduces to its proper size. A sensation passing through, not a name to live inside. Sometimes the label will reveal a simple, sane action to take, a call to make, a glass of water to drink, a 5-minute rest. Sometimes it will vanish like fog, but you will have kept the center from being captured. Make no mistake, the world will try to finish your sentence for you 10,000 times. Advertisers will, critics will, memory will. Do not be shocked. Be ready. Your work is not to build a fortress of willpower. Your work is to keep the doorway clear. I am. If you find you have wandered an hour or a week, do not condemn yourself. That too is a counterfeit I am. I am failing. No, stop it. Return. Freedom is retained not by drama, but by fidelity. The small, faithful refusal to surrender your name to fear. Hold to that, and the hypnosis breaks each time it tries to gather you. Now we come to a very necessary freedom, and with it, a very necessary sobriety. There is no organization here to join, no memberships, no badges, no outer authority to sign your card and promise you anything. The only bond that counts for anything in this work is a spiritual bond, the one you make when you turn within and touch I. If ever you hear someone say, "Join us and you will have it," smile, bless them, and go home to your inner room. You cannot join God, you can only recognize God, and you can do that where you stand. Therefore the responsibility is yours. But do not hear that as a burden. Hear it as liberation. Nobody can do your remembering for you. I cannot. A book cannot. A lecture cannot. At most, we can point. We can witness. We can sit with you as you turn. But the proof, the only proof that matters, is in your demonstration. When, in the middle of the email, you return to I am, and the harsh reply softens into a clear and honest sentence. That is demonstration. When, as the hand reaches for the phone the 10th time in an hour, you pause in I am, and the compulsion loosens. Demonstration. When, in a difficult conversation, I am steadies you, and your words come firm and kind without the old tremor. Demonstration. This is how you measure truth, by the fruit it bears in the living of your day. Blessings cannot be inflicted upon you. You do not receive merely by listening, not even by agreeing. You receive by conscious participation, by the act of union. At the moment of need, you turn within and say, without ornament, I. Let it open. I am. That is asking. That is knocking. That is consent. And in that consent, supply enters. Peace, quiet intelligence, timing, right restraint, right speech. Without that consent, even the finest talk remains a philosophy of words. So take a simple metric. Do not make it mystical, make it honest. Are you less reactive this week than last? Is there more quiet intelligence under pressure? Do you find yourself checking the phone fewer times because you remember you are the giver of attention, not its merchandise? Does speech grow a little more compassionate while remaining true? Are decisions emerging with less strain and more rightness of fit? These are not fantasies. They are the natural effects of abiding as a branch in the vine. If these are increasing, continue. If they fade, do not condemn yourself. Return and begin again. That, too, is demonstration. And let discernment protect you. Measure everything you hear, even in this room, against the inner witness and its fruit. If a teaching flatters you into superiority, or frightens you into dependence, or sells you belonging in place of being, it is not this. The way is straight and narrow, because only you can walk it. Not alone in the lonely sense, but alone in the responsible sense. You turning, you consenting, you remembering. And so you are free. Free of badges, free of borrowed certainty, free to prove the presence in your own life by conscious participation, until peace, clarity, and right action become not exceptions, but your ordinary harvest. Now we turn from single sparks to a steady flame, from a moment of contact to a day quietly built around remembrance. Do not think of this as a program. Think of it as a rhythm, as breathing. In the morning, before the story of the day begins to write itself on you, begin with, I am. Do not reach for the phone. Do not reach even for promises. Sit on the edge of the bed or in a chair. 2 minutes will do. Silently, I. Let it open. I am. Not, I am going to have a great day. Not even, I am going to be spiritual. No asking, no bargaining. Establish contact. Be still and know. If the mind brings you a plan, smile at it and return to I. If a worry puts on its coat to leave with you, pat its shoulder and return to I. 2 minutes of union before you wear a name or answer a bell. The clock is not the sacrament. Contact is. In those 2 minutes, the branch takes sap for the hours to come. Now the day is moving. Therefore appoint the ordinary things as bells of remembrance. Make doorways into temples. Every threshold a 5-second return. Hand on the doorknob. I am. Sitting in the car before you start the engine. I am. Washing the hands. I am. Opening the laptop, lifting the phone, waiting for the elevator, standing in a line, each a 5-second homecoming. You are not stopping life to be spiritual. You are letting life be steeped in the vine. 5 seconds is longer than you think when it is given wholly. These little pauses do not waste time. They redeem it. Tasks that were scattered begin to find their order around the center as iron filings gather to a magnet. For some, that will be enough to change the weather of the day. For others, add a midday minute, perhaps just before you eat or just after a meeting. One unhurried breath in I am, like drawing water at the well. For still others, in a season of pressure, set one more bell in the late afternoon when fatigue would like to finish your sentence with fear. Each is small. Together, they keep the doorway clear. And in the evening, we do not grade ourselves. We release. Sit a few minutes and gently review, not as a critic, but as a witness. Where did I finish the holy word with anxiety today? Where did I forget and hurry? Where did I remember and feel the hush? Each noticing is a return. Do not scold. Do not dramatize. Silently, I am. Let the nervous system learn safety in stillness. Cast the day back into the source from which its good came. You will sleep not as a defendant, but as a branch abiding. As this rhythm takes root, qualities will begin to pour through without strain. Wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, patience, gentleness, courage, timing, restraint, creativity, order, and that quiet inner authority that does not need to raise its voice. You will find right words given and wrong words withheld. You will find decisions ripening instead of being wrenched from the tree. Small returns repeated through the day establish a stable inner union that outlives the day's noise. The mind learns its place as servant. The heart learns its calm. The life of you moves in step with the life. And the prayer of the day becomes many small syllables of one name. I am. Now let us come down softly, gently, with the same simplicity that has carried us. The mind is not an enemy. The mind is a very fine instrument for email, for schedules, for numbers, for plans, for solving the kind of puzzles that a desk produces and a day requires. It is a good pen, a steady file clerk, a helpful engineer. It becomes a tyrant only when it leaves its desk and takes the throne, only when it replaces being with thinking and tries to run the household without the householder. When I am is remembered, the mind comes back to its right work, not to rule, but to serve, not to agitate, but to arrange, not to invent your life, but to implement the grace already given. And because we have insisted on freedom all through our time together, let this be said again as comfort. Wherever you are not outside the reach of presence. Office light, subway steel, kitchen sink, grocery line, it makes no difference. There is no membership required to be remembered by God. There is only the quiet turn within that says, without ornament, I. Let it open. I am. That is belonging. That is your bond. And if your commute is long, or your house is noisy, or your to-do list is taller than yesterday's, that does not shut the door. Only forgetting shuts it. And even then, the door opens on the first knock. Shall we do it once more before we go? Just now, as you are. No pose, no strain. A single breath, silently within yourself. I. Let it be the bare fact of you. And now let it widen into I am. Not I am this, not I am that, just I am. Rest one beat longer than your habit. If a thought waves from the side of the road, nod at it and keep to the center. There. Notice the small ease. That quiet is not the product of our talk. It is the presence that has been breathing you all evening. And, when I'm on a platform and the Spirit comes upon me, I forget everything else, and then I look up and realize, oh, where did the time go? So here is the invitation, but not as pressure, only as fidelity. If, even once, this has proved itself in you, one softened reply, one calmed hand, one wise silence, cling to that proof. Do not cling to me. Do not cling to words. Cling to the fact you have demonstrated. Return again and again until returning becomes remaining. Until I am is not a moment you visit, but the room you live in. And when, as will happen, you find the mind climbing back toward the throne, smile and remind it of its place. Come, friend. We serve. Then you proceed into your life, emails and schedules and human faces, and daily life itself becomes the practice, the mind steady at its desk, and you, a branch abiding in the vine, bearing the quiet fruits of presence as naturally as a tree bears in season. 1. I am. And we continue.